Hey everyone, this is Karina Snow, coach and healing arts maven, Chinese medicine practitioner. So I was going to do a live this morning, but I am over here at my local bakery, the Red Hen, and the service is not great. So instead of risking it and having it go in and out, I'm just going to make a video. But I wanted to show you guys and tell you a little bit more about what's up with the liver and lung meridians and what's happening when we have these early morning wake-ups. And so just to kind of recap from last night, in Chinese medicine we have what's called an organ clock. And so every 2 hours there's a switch in the meridian that is moving, has the focus of moving qi through our body. And so from 1 to 3 in the morning, it is the liver meridian, and from 3 to 5 in the morning, it's the lung meridian. And what's interesting and what's unique about this particular switch, because there's many, right? There's like 12 switches. What's interesting about this switch is that it encompasses a large expanse in the body. And so the liver channel ends right below, it's like here, right below, kind of if you wear a bra, the bra line, or like right below the breast tissue, the very base of the breast tissue, that's where the liver channel ends up. And it's like in line with, it's like in the nipple line is where that point is. And then the jump at 3 a.m. is to the lung channel, which begins right here, directly below the collarbone. And so it has this big expanse to get through. It has to get through the diaphragm, which we're going to talk about why that's a problem, and it has to get through breast tissue. And so what can happen at this time, right at 3 in the morning, if there's this kind of block in between these two meridians, if they're not communicating, if they're not connecting with each other, we can wake up. And then also what can happen is that we end up staying awake because of some other things that are happening around this 3 a.m. time. So the diaphragm can be a problem for us. It's like this big, flat, meaty, muscle that kind of sits right there in that costal area, and it when the qi of the liver actually is stagnant, which is super common, and a lot of people deal with this. When we have some liver qi stagnation in our body, the diaphragm tends to get stagnant. And so the way that you might notice that this is up for you is that you might have PMS symptoms. This is like the flashing red light, like liver qi stagnation and PMS, they kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways. You can kind of correlate those two together. And so you might have irritability before your period. You might have, feelings of frustration. You might be more emotional. You might be teary. You might also have like painful distended breasts, or you might be sighing a lot. And that could happen throughout the period. Sighing, someone who sighs a lot is really common if you have some liver qi stagnation. So if that is something that's up for you, the qi of your liver is not moving in the way that it needs to in order to move through the channel in a great way. And so it leaves us feeling kind of frustrated, kind of angsty, kind of irritable, kind of distended, sometimes bloated. And this a lot of times happens right before our cycle, right? And then the other organ at play is the lung. And lung emotionally is all about grief and sadness. And so, if there are unresolved issues of grief, if there's sadness happening, if you have melancholy that you are feeling in your body, then this can be a reason for your lung qi to be not as strong as it could be. Or, of course, if you have been sick, or if you have chronic lung issues also. But I tend to deal a lot with the emotional side of things. And so if your lung qi isn't strong enough, it's not able to kind of grasp the qi from the liver as it moves from down here all the way to up here, Everywhere else on the channel, the connection points in between the organ systems are like fingers and toes, or like there's a little one over here. But they're not these big jumps, so this is unusual. So we've got liver, we've got lung, we've got diaphragm. And I think something else to keep in mind, maybe you don't wake up right at 3, but maybe you wake up in between 1 and 3, right? So this is like liver time. And so, if you're waking up at 1, 1:30, 2, a lot of times maybe it's not specifically a block in these two channels, but it has to do with stuff related to the liver. So again, the liver is super emotional. So it's all those like unresolved, unexpressed anger, frustration, resentment, all those really nice, meaty feelings. If those are existing within you, then they can boil up at night during the time of the liver. In Chinese medicine, we say like anytime you have something that comes up repeatedly at the same time every day or night, it's really important to look at what that time is and correlate it to the organ clock. And then you get a lot of information about what's happening with your body. So then if you wake up in between 3 and 5 a.m., this is the lung time, right? So this is that melancholy, that grief, that sadness. And so if you have these unresolved, issues and feelings within you, then you could be waking up during that time. Okay. That's the meat of what I wanted to tell you. There's one more piece. So, we say why we wake up, and then like we stay awake. Why do we stay awake? So 3 a.m. and someone mentioned this in the comments. They're like, well, you could just be getting downloads. Yes. But like, I get downloads all the time. But what I'll say is that 3 a.m. is related to the most open time for visioning. So liver is all about vision. It's all about that big overarching, big vision in our life, seeing. The liver has to do with eyes. So anything related to your eyes actually physically is also correlated to the liver meridian. And so when we wake up at 3 a.m., and if you're a creative person, you absolutely know this because you probably do this anyway. You wake up and you have big ideas. You always have to keep a notebook by your bed to write this shit down because this is when that really juicy stuff happens. So when we wake up at 3 a.m., maybe there's a block here. Maybe we're getting a download, but regardless, this is the time where there's most of that visioning energy happening. And so of course we're going to stay awake, right? And maybe we're getting downloads, maybe not, but we're the most open to that energy during this time. Okay? All right. So I'm Karina Snow. Definitely follow me if you're liking what's happening here, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this. Okay? Much love to you all. Bye-bye.